Hello from the Mashpee TV Channel 99 studio. I'm Talia Landry, a Mashpee resident and staff member of Mashpee TV. I'll be the moderator of today's Mashpee TV 2019 School Committee Candidates Forum. Joining me as co-moderator is Hannah Schuster from the Mashpee Enterprise. The forum is an opportunity for the candidates to speak to Mashpee voters. The questions we'll be asking were submitted by community members, including parents, students, and the news media. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes to address each question, as well as 1 minute response to any follow-up questions. Each candidate will also have 3 minutes for a closing statement. The candidate's position on the stage and the order in which they will be addressed was determined through random selection. The candidates have been provided the rules prior to this forum. And we'll get to the first question shortly, but first, let's meet the candidates. And first, we have Don Myers.
Hi, nice to see you.
You too. And Kathy Lewis.
Hi, thank you for having us.
And Alana Doyle.
Hello, thanks for having me here.
And thank you for all being here. Each candidate has 2 minutes for their opening statements, and we will start with Don.
Hi, my name is Don Myers. I'd like to introduce myself to those who may not know who I am. I'm originally from a small town in rural Kansas and have spent the last 20 years here in Mashpee. I currently serve as the Chief Financial Officer for Community Systems, Management Support, and a company that specializes supporting adults with disabilities in the northeast part of the country. I'm an accountant, a CPA, a CMA with over 30 years of professional experience with a number of global financial service companies here in the Northeast. I've been very active in giving back to Mashpee through my time, professional knowledge, and leadership. It goes back to in high school, I was selected to attend the American Legion's Boys State Program to learn about city, county, and state government operations, and that experience as being elected, quote unquote, the mayor of my group was apparently the precursor of the future for me. I've currently served 2 terms or 6 years on the Mashpee Public School Committee. Prior to that, I was appointed 1 year to the Mashpee Planning Board and was elected to 2 terms or 6 years on the Mashpee Board of Selectmen before taking a break due to serious health issues. I've represented the school committee as part of the Charter Review Committee and when I was on the Board of Selectmen, led the Mashpee Blue Ribbon Committee and subsequently helped establish and lead the Environmental Oversight Committee for several years, a committee which continues on to this day. Among nonprofit and civic affiliations, I've served a number of years on the board of directors for the Cape Cod Children's Museum here in Mashpee, and in my spare time have helped design and build sets for a local children's drama group. My wife and I have 2 children in the Mashpee Public School system. I look forward to the opportunity to continue to serve the students, parents, and the community in Mashpee and to provide the best possible schools and social, emotional, and educational experience that can help our students maximize their potential. To quote our superintendent, it's great to be in Mashpee. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. And Kathy.
Hello, my name is Kathy Lewis, and I'm seeking election to the Mashpee School Committee because I firmly believe that the education of our youth is vital to our town's growth and development. I grew up in Mashpee and attended Mashpee Public Schools from kindergarten through 8th grade because at the time, Mashpee didn't have a high school. After graduating from Falmouth High, I went on to Providence College and UMass Dartmouth, where I earned my degree in writing and communications. I have a daughter currently in 4th grade and have been active in her education since the beginning because I believe it's important for her to know that I view her education as important. It's very important. I have served 4 years on the school council, which is the principal's advisory committee. 2 years at the Casey Coombs School, 1 year with Wendy Lithwin and 1 year with Paul LaBelle. And I'm currently in my 2nd year with Mary Kate at the Quashnet School. I have volunteered with the PTO at many events, both at the Casey Coombs and the Quashnet School, such as the book fair, my personal favorite. staff appreciation lunches, the KC Coombs versus Quashnet basketball games, and most recently have stepped into the recording secretary role of the Quashnet PTO. I'm also active in Mashpee Girl Scouts. I lead a multi-level Brownie and Junior troop, as well as serve as service unit coordinator for the Mashpee Girl Scouts. I find that the children I interact with in Girl Scouts have a unique view, and I try to learn as much from them as hopefully they're learning from me. I've also spent almost a year and a half as a substitute teacher in the Mashpee public school system before my daughter started kindergarten, and during that time, I got to spend time inside the schools and got to meet teachers and administrators and students, as well as run into a few teachers I knew from my time as a student back in the day. It was a wonderful experience because it gave me a view from the inside, albeit a brief day-to-day view, but it was still always interesting to see what the students were working on, what technology they were using, and just what they were talking about and what they had to say. I hope that if elected to school committee, I can continue my commitment to the children of Mashpee by working with the superintendent and the other committee members to further the goals of the school committee, ensure that students come first always, and continue to make Mashpee Schools the strong foundation that it was for me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Alana.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alana Doyle, and I am a Mashpee resident. I am a lifelong Cape Codder. I grew up in Sandwich, lived in Mashpee for a brief period of time in high school, and ended up graduating from Sandwich High School. When my husband and I got married, we moved to Mashpee with our daughter Madison and now our young son Kyle. I started my college education at Cape Cod Community College, where I graduated with my associate's degree in business administration. I finished my bachelor's degree at UMass Dartmouth in business management and worked in banking for several years, local Cape Cod bank. After that, I was given the opportunity to stay home with Madison and then Kyle because my husband got a great job, and it gave me a great opportunity to be at home, take some time off, where I really developed a love of community involvement and engagement. Most people who are watching this probably know me from the Mashpee Message, which I started soon after I moved to Mashpee because I realized there was no group like it. Through there, we have had such great experiences connecting with the community, having awesome discussions, connecting people with volunteer work, finding lost dogs, everything you can think of, which really brought me to my journey with the school committee and why I'm here right now. I noticed last year that there was a lot of talk about some of the changes that were taking place, and a lot of people feel like they weren't really listened to, so I kind of want to set an example for my daughter and for other women and people in general. If you don't like something, then stand up and do something about it. So I'm here today and willing to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. And thank you guys all again for being here today. And we'll just get into the questions. Yeah? All right, so first we're going to start with you, Don, again, okay? Let's begin discussing school choice. Do you support school choice for Mashpee? Why and why, or why not?
I do support school choice. It's a tool for us to be able to bring a diverse school population into Mashpee from outside. It also gives us an opportunity to allow students who have moved to other towns that began and have begun their education in Mashpee to continue on with their classmates in the programs that they're familiar with and ultimately graduate within the Mashpee public school system. So I am a big supporter of it. We set, or the superintendent and the principals make recommendations every year in regard to available seats that will not negatively impact other students in the classroom. So we're using excess capacity to be able to bring those school choice kids into this district, and I think it's been a very worthwhile program and like to see it continue into the future.
Same question for you, Kathy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Dawn said I agree with. I think Mashpee is unique in this fact that we offer a lot of programs in our school system that aren't necessarily offered in other school systems. The Pro Start program, for example, I mean, that's just taking off, it seems. I mean, they're winning awards at competitions. You've got the robotics club that's starting to really gain traction. I mean, we were at the Mini Maker Fair the other day and they were having robot wars, and it was kind of cool to watch these kids who worked really hard and are learning these skills that weren't something, that were available to us growing up per se, but they were things that were, it just wasn't something you did in school. It was something you did outside of school. And now Mashpee is very unique in that sense. And by allowing school choice, we're allowing students into that program and in to participate in these experiences that they might not otherwise get. So yeah, I think school choice is really a benefit to the town, for sure. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
I definitely agree with school choice. Specifically, one thing that Dawn said regarding kids who move out of town, because most people know there isn't such a stable housing market on Cape, so families are often moving a lot more than they want to. And if they do start at one school and want to continue on with their friends and the education that they've been receiving, I absolutely think that that should be an option. I myself moved from town to town, and I knew it was hard starting at a new school, and when I moved back, I was happy to be with the people who I had started with, my class, who I had been with since elementary school, and eventually got to graduate with. So I think that it's a great program, and as Kathy said too, when you offer programs that other schools don't have, you actually attract people to your town. So I think it's a great program.
Continuing to talk about school choice as a follow-up, there's been discussion among the school committee members this year about the money that Mashpee gets when other students elect to come to Mashpee through school choice. The district gets a fee. There's been debate about whether it's appropriate to use that money as part of the general operating budget for the school district, or whether the district should maintain control of that money, not roll it into the budget. I'm wondering what your take is on that. We can start with you, Dawn, as someone who's been involved in these conversations.
So clearly that's been a hot button topic for the school committee. We receive $5,000 for each student. We have approximately 100 students, or basically $500,000 that has come into the school. This was not the first year, but the third year in which the school had to reach into, and in this particular case, exceed what we would normally take in for school choice in order to supplement the town's appropriation from the taxpayers in order to support the public school system. In the past, when we had that totally available to us, that is what funded us being able to bring Chromebooks into the schools. That's what funded us being able to upgrade the technology in the classrooms. So you're taking that mechanism in some aspects away from the school committee and our ability to do that. We also use that, for example, to start off with Camp Falcon. It was another one that got funded through school choice. We've subsequently, last year, rolled that into the operating budget. But it's a slippery slope. There's no guarantee that the program will continue from one year to the next. There's no guarantee that kids will continue to come, and so now we're building it in as a dependency to be able to fund our schools, and that's a big risk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same question.
Well, I can see what Dawn's saying about it becoming a dependency. In a sense, once you get used to having it and using it a certain way, I can see how that might be an issue. I think the other unknown is, as Alana said, I'm sorry, as Alana said in her earlier answer, with the housing market on the Cape, I mean, can you really rely on those school choice numbers staying at the levels they're at with the shrinking population of families with young children? So that being said, rolling it into the operational budget, on one hand, you don't want to see the programs get taken away because they're beneficial. On the other hand, you know, it's very hard to plan for numbers you don't necessarily know unless somebody's got a crystal ball and can see into the future and know that we're always going to have X number of school choice students. You know, it's kind of, you can see both sides of it. I think I would need to do a little bit more research on the discussion, that, you know, and what's been going on, I think, before I can really commit to one answer or the other, but I'm inclined to say that it sounds a little risky.
Well, I definitely do not think that those funds should be relied upon for obvious reasons. It's not a consistent number. It can always change. And from a budget standpoint, you see the budget continue to rise. I mean, I think the number I wrote down was since 2013, it's risen about 13%, even though enrollment is steadily going down, which is another thing I would like to talk about later. But I think with a rising budget and enrollment continuing to go down, any extra money that does come in through school choice should go back to the school, but it should go directly towards the voted upon budget. I don't think that it should be bonus money to go towards other projects. I think it should go back into the actual voted upon school budget.
Is that good? And okay, so our next question is, recent reports have shown longer wait lists for local private charter schools. Do you believe this is an indication that many parents are dissatisfied with public schools? And we could start with Alana this time.
Well, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Sturgis just got, what, third in the state for top high schools. So, I mean, that's really impressive when you think of all the schools in the state. I don't think they have the same not the same standards, but the same operations as the public schools do. Their contracts are different, and they don't have, I mean, when you look at a charter school versus the public school, I'm sorry. I think there's two different standards. I'm sorry. I'm just totally losing my train of thought right now.
No worries.
I do think that there is a higher quality of education sometimes at charter schools because there is a pool of candidates or students who are actually looking to learn and more motivated to learn, and they kind of take the cream of the crop from all of the schools who I'm sorry.
So do you think that, no worries. Do you think that just that in general, like so now I'm losing my train of thought. No. Do you think that that's an indication just because there's a big wait list for these private schools? Do you think that reflects on our public schools? Like, do you think that says anything about our public schools per se?
No, not necessarily exactly about our public schools, because I went to a public school on Cape. I think I got a fabulous education. But I mean, as a parent, you look at those numbers, you want the best for your students. You see this school that is very local, is number 3 in the state, and it's not going to cost you any extra money, then you're going to want your kid to go there if they can. So it probably is the demand for parents and students who want the best education that they can possibly get. And looking at those numbers, you really do see that it is a quality school. So it is obviously competition for the public schools.
Okay. And Dawn, can you go, do you want me to repeat the question? Or did you?
If you wouldn't mind.
Okay. So the recent reports have shown longer wait lists, just the wait lists for local private schools are getting longer. Do you believe that that's any indication that many parents are dissatisfied with the public schools?
I think that what you're seeing is there is a demand, to send a person, or families want to send their children to the best possible education place that they can. And when you read about Sturgis and other charter schools, one of the things that stands out is number 3 in the state. Great. On USA Today list, fantastic. But it's not an apples and apples comparison. The problem is they do self-select. So, for example, if you go to Sturgis and you ask about their programs to support individuals with disabilities, you would get a mum look on the person's face because they don't have those programs, and therefore they send them back to the public schools, which skews in the results that they're showing. Now, that's the way it's been set up, that's the way it currently operates, and so therefore, on an apples to apples basis, if you compared our top students to their student population, you would see a similar level of academic rigor. But we have to educate all children. We can't be self-selective. We can't say, we can't support this particular individual who has special needs. We have to take those individuals. And so therefore, if you look at it on an equal basis, I think it would make sense that, you know, people are going where they perceive to be the best school, but not necessarily are getting the best results. You can get, as just mentioned here, an excellent education here on Cape Cod, and particularly, in my opinion, at Mashpee.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a lot of what Don and Alana have said, you know, they're valid points. Does it mean that people are dissatisfied with Mashpee? I'm not sure. I think, you know, we need to kind of maybe look at the reasons, if we had that data, to know why the people want to go to that school. Is it because they want the International Baccalaureate degree? That's something Mashpee doesn't offer that Sturgis does. You know, and it kind of does put children or students in a slightly different place when they graduate from high school. You know, speaking with Patty DeBoer, I believe she said it was around 6% is what they've been seeing in terms of students going to Sturgis. And it's been staying pretty level for Mashpee students that are leaving the school system. It seems, you know, to me that seems low. It could be a lot higher, because I think that was encompassing not just Sturgis, but all high school options. That being said, you know, if it was double digits, maybe we could look at that and say, you know, proof's in the pudding. We got double digit percentages here leaving our public school system. The fact that it's not that, I think people are finding value in our public school system. Again, Mashpee has some really amazing opportunities, both academic and trade-wise. Not that it's, you know, we have the tech as well, but I think some of those opportunities factor in. Obviously, as a parent, you know, speaking personally, I'm gonna want my child to pick what's best for her. I'm gonna guide her, and I'm hoping that other parents are doing the same, and hoping that she gets the best education that's best for her. And provides her with the tools that she needs.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a follow-up to that? Okay. And so now, what's your opinion of school start times? And we're actually going to start with you, Kathy.
I had a feeling this was going to come up. So, you know, here's the thing. The conversation started almost 2 years ago, you know, and as a parent with a child in the school system, she was young when the conversation started. I paid attention. I watched the school committee meetings. I went to a few of them. I emailed. Don probably has the emails still somewhere in a file. You know, voicing my concerns, voicing my questions. You know, I had questions. We all, I think, had questions because change always is a little unnerving. Looking at the data, because really these decisions, you really have to remove yourself as a parent, or as someone who says, well, back in the day, we did it. Like, times have changed. The way that our children are growing up with all of the different influences, it is impacting their life outside of school. And as a parent, yes, it's our job to mitigate that. However, we have to look at the science as well. And for the high school students, the science was there. It was clearly there that later times helped them. The arguments have been, well, in workforce, you can't just tell your boss, I'm going to start at this time. They're not yet at the workforce. It's our job in the school system to give them those tools of time management, and that time management doesn't have to be from 7 to 3. The time management is time management within whatever hours. So they're still going to get those skills that people are concerned they're not going to get. My main concern when this whole discussion began was the younger children. because there is no data for the younger children. The studies haven't been done. And that was something that when I spoke to school committee members, they were like, we see that, we agree. So it then became what's going to be best for the town as a whole. And there does seem to be a small group of people who feel school start time was not in their best interest. And I can appreciate that, you know, coming from a single parent home and having a mother who worked to raise 4 kids. I understand what her time was. So, you know, I can appreciate that, but I think we've got to kind of let this vote ride for at least, kind of let it go and see how it plays out, and then revisit it if we find it's not working.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alana.
Hi, this is actually why I'm here, because I obviously saw this discussion start last year. My daughter was not in the school system yet, so I did not participate in the surveys. I was not aware that it had been going on for 2 years because I didn't have a child in the school system, although I had children who would have or would be going to the school system. Once I found out about it, I thought it was very strange. I mean, I wasn't a teenager too long ago. I got up when I had to. I went to school when I had to, and I thought it was a great preparation for work and for college. I mean, did I wake up happy in the morning? No, but I got everything done. But all that aside, I saw a real different perspective when it came to parents with young children. I mean, I can see letting teenagers have the extra time to sleep in the morning, but you look at working parents and you look at their schedules and you say, oh, okay, well, they can just put them in before care and they can just pay the $1,000+ a year more. It'll be fine. Like, it's conveniencing the high schoolers, so let them do what they have to do. I looked at the survey results too, which were really shocking, and this is why I have an itch against ranked choice voting, because it's not the most accurate form of voting. And you saw that about 40% of the participants said they wanted no change, or that no change would be the best. And an overwhelming majority said if there was a change, for elementary school times to be earlier. So you can see that that was just totally ignored, because now that it's later, parents seriously have to look at things like, what am I supposed to do with my child before school? You know what, at 15 years old, you can let a 15-year-old get on the bus by themselves. You can't let a 4-year-old get on a bus by themselves. So those are real concerns that I think were kind of just brushed aside to benefit the high school students.
Thank you, Alana. And Don, what's your take on it?
So we did spend a long time in multiple sessions, including public hearings, talking about this. We did the survey that you have alluded to. We had a committee of community members, staff, professionals, parents involved looking at this because this, pardon me, this is not something that we took lightly. This does have a major impact on parents and on students. We felt at the end of the day that the ultimate benefit, particularly to the high school children, made a lot of sense. We looked at what we were able to do in regard to elementary students, and unfortunately, we don't have enough buses to be able to maintain the same start time that we currently have for the elementary. So we had to make a choice. Be able to do nothing or be able to accommodate one group. And moving it up even earlier would have moved the elementary students up to 7:20. And the last thing we really wanted was to have our youngest children out there in the dark in the middle of the winter waiting for a bus. So, you know, trading off that, we made a decision to push back the elementary start times, which is similar to, if you look at surrounding communities, they have their elementary times later on. Through all the public hearings and everything that we had a very small, very, very small minority of individuals who came and actually spoke against this. The majority of the people did not.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
If you're done.
Response. with the
Yeah,
follow-up. Yeah.
it looks like I'm out of time, so.
I just wanted to say that I didn't have children in the school while this was being discussed and talked about with the committee. Had I been informed, or had other people who had younger children before school age been involved and were made aware and were able to participate in the survey, I think it would have been a little bit different, because I know for a fact that if I had been in the loop of what was going on before, I probably would have been in that small majority.
So following up on this conversation, speaking a little more generally, sort of in that line, this was obviously a proposal that generated a lot of debate in Mashpee. There were strong opinions on both sides. So I'm wondering, when you're faced with a decision like this, what should the district do? What should the committee do to solicit public opinion? And how should you weigh those opinions when trying to make sure that the decision you come to is what's best for the most Mashpee students? So we can start with Kathy. Can we start with you?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that is a tough one. You know, as Alana said, she didn't have children in the school system at the time, but I don't know how, you know, you would know, because which parents who don't have children in the school system to solicit for those opinions, because they may decide on school choice, they may decide on a private school, you know, and maybe that would be a factor in their decision. Fair enough. But how do you collect those emails? How do you generate that you just send it out to the town? I wonder the efficiency of how you would collect that data. In terms of the survey that did go out and the numbers, you know, I was surprised at the numbers that came back. You know, sitting on school council, we did get to see it, as well as paying attention to school committee meetings. We were able to see the numbers, and the participation was not what I anticipated, considering the hot button topic that it was. I expected there to be a lot more response. And maybe that's something that the school committee does need to work on, is getting that communication to a better point, acknowledging the fact that, you know, in Mashpee, the number of voters who actually have children in the school system is larger than the number of voters who actually do have children in the school system. So that communication is key. In terms of policies such as this, it's a hard thing to answer, because again, how do you accurately know who to send that to? How do you get that data back? And you know, it seems very difficult at an initial look. Maybe if you sat down and really examined it, there'd be a way to do it. But I just question how easy that would be and how cost effective it would be to collect that, because a mailing went out and an email went out, because they first emailed it and then they sent a mail paper copy of the survey to the people who didn't respond via email, and mail's expensive. So that was one cost. I was kind of like, ugh, they could have saved a little bit of money there by not mailing it, but they wanted to get the participation. They wanted people to answer. So they tried their best to get those in the system already to answer. Now, if you open it up to the whole community, how do you enforce, I don't want to say enforce, but how do you encourage and how do you get that participation?
Alana, same question.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say, I mean, yeah, you can do a survey, but if you don't listen to the survey results, then I guess that's pretty pointless. Like I said, 40% of people said they would prefer no change, and the overwhelming majority said an earlier time would be preferable for the students. I mean, if you're going to send out a survey and just not listen to the results, I don't even know what the purpose is. All that aside, I think social media totally is a very useful tool that is underutilized. I think you reach a lot of people in your community, and I think that the Mashpee school system does a great job of putting their information out, but I mean, they could do better. If you have something like this, such a hot button topic, you know, put it out on the internet. You're gonna reach the most people. More people use Facebook than read the newspaper, or I mean, than check their email even sometimes. So I think that social media is such a great tool to just put the issue out, and if people who are concerned about it see that this is what's going on, you know what, then they'll come forward. Rather than finding everyone, put the information out, and if they have something to say, they'll come to you if they care enough.
May I make a quick rebuttal to that?
That's
It'll be just quick. Social media, I work in, that's my part of my day job. And while there are benefits to it, I think it comes down to an equity issue because not everyone, Mashpee does have a very high population of at-risk families. And I think you run into a bit of an equity issue, which I think is why the email response sometimes can be a little tricky. And knowing that, yes, social media has its benefits. However, in a data collection sample, maybe you could use it as one outlet. However, it's still going to be a tricky thing because not everyone is on it.
Sure.
So I guess I just wanted to put that out there. That again, it probably should be equitable so that all families, regardless of their internet access, computer access, should be able to answer and participate. So.
Real quick, I would never use that as a sole purpose of communicating. However, in my personal opinion, it is underutilized and can reach a lot of people in conjunction with other forms.
yeah, Don.
So we tried. We used every form of communication available. That's why we spent 2 years talking about this. So just in case you moved into Mashpee recently, you would have read about this in the newspaper. You would have heard about this if you attended a school committee along with the other thousands who attend. Very facetious, as Kathy knows. You would have seen that this was something that was being frequently discussed, because this isn't something that we wanted to make a decision on in a vacuum. Ultimately, it comes down to making a hard choice and deciding what is best for our students and what is best for our families. And we worked really hard and engaged the town and other local resources to be able to address issues such as before and after school care. And in the initial survey that went out, there was confusion because I remember hearing, "Oh, Mashpee is going to provide daycare for everyone." Well, no, we're not, and that is not the purpose of the schools. The purpose of the schools is to provide an education. There are other resources through the town, through the Boys and Girls Club, and elsewhere to be able to provide for those families who find that their situations require them to be able to drop their child off either before school opens, or they're not able to pick up their child until later after the end of the day. And a lot of those resources already exist today. This is just expanding on those. But at some point, you have to make a tough decision. And I think the committee ultimately weighed all the factors and made the right decision.
Thank you, Don, and thank you, everyone, for answering the questions. We're actually going to get into the closing statements now, and we're going to start with you, Kathy.
Okay. Well, thank you, moderators. Thank you, Mashpee TV, and my fellow candidates for the opportunity to discuss these issues today. Growing up in Mashpee gave me the benefit of growing up in a truly diverse community that cares deeply about all of its children. My education in the Mashpee Public School System was the foundation for my life, and for that, I'm forever grateful. It's also one of the main reasons I would like to give back to my community at this higher level. If elected to school committee, I hope to continue the progress that has been made over the last few years that's seen many positive changes, such as additions to the curriculum through the ProStart program, the CTE program, just to name a couple, achievement in sports, providing support and ensuring funding for improving state assessments, the joint committee meetings at the Wampanoag Tribal Council, and overall a deeper connection to the community that is not only strengthening the students' sense of community, but also the residents of Mashpee. The saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child, and it really does take a village. We're lucky that we live in a small town where most of us do know each other. Our children always have someone watching out for them. That commitment to each other is what makes our town so unique. It's also why our children are able to benefit from programs that provide many things for them through the school system. Free and reduced lunch program, Chromebooks, a music program with free lessons, sports, and committed teachers, administrators, and volunteers who work hard to help each child succeed in their own way. The school committee and the oversight it provides to the school system is another element in each child's path to success. By being elected to this committee, I hope to work towards solutions to the issues we discussed today, as well as continue to celebrate the amazing achievements of the children of our town. I ask that on May 21st, when you step up to vote, you not only vote for me, Kathy Lewis, but also for the children of Mashpee. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Now, Alana.
Just want to thank you guys for having me here again, and thank you for everyone who's watching. You know, I just want to say that I have the purest motivation to do this. I have 2 young children. One is just starting in pre-K in her journey in the Mashpee Public Schools. My other child, he will be following in her footsteps shortly after. I think it's really important that we put our children first, but also pay attention to what the people of our town are saying and what their needs are. I look forward to hopefully working with the committee. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything right now. I've never walked into something knowing everything there is to know, but I will say every time I have started something, I have done my very best to learn every ounce of information that I can. When I commit to something, I do it wholeheartedly and will follow through with what I say I'm going to do. I think that the school system is the most important asset to the town, and I really think that I could help be a part of it. And I hope that you vote for me when it is election day. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. Now, Don, can we hear from you?
I want to thank our moderators and also the other participants here. Wish them all the best of luck in the upcoming election. I look forward to continuing to provide Mashpee strong physical oversight, transparency, and accountability for their public school district. To recap some of the things that I've worked on over the past 6 years, I've demonstrated the ability to work as a team member on the school committee and with town officials, putting personal agendas aside and working cooperatively for the best interest of the students in Mashpee. The working relationship with the town and the school has improved significantly, and we have seen universal support from the town to invest in updating our Quashnet school building and also to support the bond referendum for the new tech school. I helped steady the leadership of the school committee and the district during a time of uncertainty and change in superintendents. We now have in place an excellent superintendent and administrative leadership team that is committed to Mashpee and to our students. Been a champion of the resources necessary to have an effective school system to serve our youth despite competition, as we talked about earlier, from charter schools and other schools that children, or other private schools that children may have an opportunity to attend. I've served as an advocate for public education in our community and with our local state legislators. I've encouraged our schools to innovate, and over my tenure, I've introduced the free universal preschool program for all Mashpee kids age 4 and above, a program that has gathered traction with other schools here on the Cape. Supported the introduction of Mandarin as a foreign language. As we talked about earlier, the introduction of Chromebooks, and we now have it almost across all of the schools where it's a one-to-one basis. And also push for technology upgrades in the teachers so that they can be more effective. We've enhanced our relationship with the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and helped lead with Chairman Cromwell the first joint governmental meeting between the Tribal Council and the school committee. It's now part of the regular school committee meeting schedule, and our basketball teams have had the opportunity over the last 2 years to play at the facility at the government center, and it's perfect for Wampanoag students to be able to play in their home court. Championed Camp Falcon, and I am a firm believer that we made the right decision in regard to school choice. And I look forward to seeing the results of that come through over the course of the next few years. I thank you and look forward to your support for another 3 years.
Thank you all. And that concludes Mashpee TV's 2019 School Committee Candidates Forum. Thanks again to all the candidates for participating. And please let your family and friends know they can watch replays of this forum on Mashpee TV's YouTube channel and on channels 99 and 18 right up to Election Day. And don't forget to cast your vote at the Christ the King Parish Hall on Election Day, which this year is on Tuesday, May 21st. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. With my colleague Hannah Schuster, I'm Talia Landry, and this is Mashpee TV. Thank you for watching.